I got out of work, went home and had some drinks to relax. I reached for the bag in my pocket and made some lines to take the edge off. I smoked a little weed while I played video games. It was 2:30 a.m. when I went to bed. My girlfriend was still awake, but she didn't say anything to me. Then I heard it, the sound I hated. Ding. A message. Who was she texting with at this hour? Then again. And again. I glanced at the screen. The received message read, "I love you too," from an unsaved number. She was cheating on me, and I couldn't believe it. It drove me insane. I asked to see her phone, and we got into a huge fight. She called me paranoid and a drug addict. I punched the wall so hard it left a hole. Then she grabbed her keys and went for the door. "You're not going anywhere," I said. I couldn't stand the thought of her leaving. I grabbed her by the hair and threw her on the floor. I started hitting her, again and again, until she bled. Then she was unconscious. I grabbed her finger and pressed it to her phone. A little bit of blood was left on the screen. It unlocked. I read the last messages.
"Mom, I'm scared. He's using again, and sometimes he gets violent."
"You need to leave, sweetie. I'm worried."
"I know. I'll pack my bags in the morning when he leaves for work. I love you."
"I love you too." I checked for a pulse. There wasn't any. Every morning at 5:15 a.m. she gets into her car and heads for work. She comes home at 3:21 p.m. Her blonde hair was always straightened, and she always wore a business suit. She looked great in maroon and navy. Those were my favorite on her. The best thing about her was that she always looked so damn happy. I swear, her smile lit up the entire sky every time I saw her. I was always happy to see her, even though we'd never actually spoken. She would bring guys over sometimes, and although it did make me sad, if it made her happy, then I wasn't going to stop her. Sometimes I'd peek out the front, and she would be pressed up against the window naked. I always forced myself to look away, otherwise I'd end up relieving myself. I could have sworn I'd seen her smiling at me when she's pressed against that window. But it's usually dark out when this happens. I'm probably just imagining it. It's been a couple of months now, and I've noticed that lately she goes to work with an angry frown, and she looks even angrier when she comes home. Eventually, she just stopped going to work altogether. I never saw her leave her house. I'd check frequently, but she never stepped outside. I was getting worried. It's been so long since I've seen her. It was around 6 p.m. I was in the kitchen making myself dinner when I heard the doorbell ring. Confused, I walked over and checked the peephole. There was no one there. I opened the door and there was an envelope on my welcome mat. I looked around before picking it up and taking it inside. I opened it, and 4 words in bold red said, "Don't look at me." I dropped the letter, not sure what it meant. Was it from her? I walked back outside, and I saw her peeping through her blinds. My heart ached. It was. I sat on my couch with the letter in my hand. She didn't want me to look at her, but I enjoyed doing it so much. I closed my eyes for a long time, trying to find the right solution. Then I found one. I picked up a pen nearby and wrote, "I won't look anymore, so be happy." I folded the letter into the envelope and walked across the street to her mailbox, placing it inside. I saw her looking at me, and I smiled. At least I got to see her one last time. I won't look anymore. I pulled the pen from my pocket and shoved it into my eye. Brunch with Mom. It's a once-a-month thing. She doesn't know if she could stand seeing her mother any more often than that. She sits, half listening to the older woman prattle on, while she folds and unfolds her napkin. She's pretty. She turns heads. Busboys and middle-aged businessmen can't help but do a double take. She pretends not to notice. I'm just so happy how much you've improved, her mother gushes while she bites off a bit of scone. That Dr. Harris does wonders. I told you. He fixed Cecilia's daughter's cystic acne, although it won't help her much till she gets that nose job. Her mother snorts at her own cruel joke. The girl nods and says something in agreement. In reality, Dr. Harris, the dermatologist, couldn't help her. Neither could Dr. Lou, the therapist, or Dr. Monty, the holistic quack who drowned her in tea tree oil. But it was easier to let her mother think she had a hand in solving things. Remember when you started high school? You had so many scabs on your face. Always picking. I clipped your nails till they bled out, but you always found a way. And now look, you can barely see any scars. But you might want to invest in a night cream anyway, dear. You're starting to get worry lines. The girl smiled a thin, non-committal smile. Never a compliment that wasn't backhanded. They finished brunch and went their separate ways. The girl boarded the train back to her district. Growing up was difficult. She tried, but she couldn't stop herself from picking. She looked monstrous. Her face sometimes seemed like one big scab. The other children avoided her, and who could blame them? She always had blood under her fingernails. When the doctors couldn't help her, she thought there was no hope, until she had an idea. The girl arrives home. She jiggles the keys in the sticky lock and pushes the door in. She wishes she could have the landlord come take a look, but that was out of the question. She walks through the hallway and to the spare closet. People don't normally have locks on their closets, but she does. She pushes the door open, and there he is. Matthew. Or Bradley? She doesn't remember. He barely seems to register when she walks in. Bradley doesn't scream so much anymore. She kneels down with him and makes sure his bindings are nice and tight. She examines his body, once healthy and lightly tanned, now one big crust where the scabs she'd made have run together. She worked on his chest yesterday. Those are too new, too frustrating to dig in. The ones on his legs are healed for a few days, though. The perfect amount of dry and scaly to be satisfying. She begins picking. Picking. Bradley cries a little, but doesn't try to speak. She has to remember to clean under her nails later. She has a date tomorrow. She told herself that it wouldn't matter. No one had seen. She knew she had done the right thing. She knew it. But that didn't stop her from watching the news in her darkened motel room later that night. Waiting. Perched cross-legged on the bare mattress, she picked dried blood from the fresh scratches on her arms and chest, as she gazed down at the old stained carpet where the television had been placed. The other furniture in the room had been pushed up against the bathroom door in a makeshift blockade. It was quiet, painfully so. The only light in the room was the blue-white flickering of the muted television set, as the closed captions recounted the crimes of the day. She closed her eyes with a sigh, releasing several tears to roll down her cheeks, as she tried to ignore the thing with spikes that tightened its grip around her chest. Guilt. It was a manipulative and useless emotion, and yet it perched on her back and wound its fingers through her hair as it muttered its nonsense into her ear. Oh God, what had she done? Why had she done it? Was she the monster here? No. No, of course she wasn't. It had to be done. She was helping them, that family, saving them from what they couldn't possibly see. But she had seen it. She had seen it that day in the supermarket parking lot. She had seen it when she'd followed the family home and watched it wander into their house. A parasite. She had always been able to see the monsters, for as long as she could remember. They walked the earth as humans. They blended in. She quickly found that this sight was unique to her, a gift that people would never understand. They had tried to take it away from her, dull the visions with drugs, but she would never let that happen. She needed it, her superpower. She needed it to save them all from the dreadful creatures hiding among them, just as she had saved that family. She lay back on the filthy mattress and placed her palms over her eyes. She just needed to lay low for a bit, that's all. Wait for the fuss to die down, for the family to realize the truth. In the end, they would be grateful. They would realize she had saved them from something horrible. They would realize she was a hero. Give it time. A smile split her tear-streaked face as she imagined the hugs and the heartfelt thanks. Oh, to be appreciated, to be believed, perhaps even loved. A chuckle escaped her throat and blossomed into giddy laughter. The joyous sound filled the room, breaking the eerie late-night stillness. And behind the barricaded bathroom door, a child began to cry. Hey guys and ladies, thanks for watching. Links to all my shit are down in the description. Let me know if you liked this video. Let me know what your favorite story was. This is gonna be called Anthology 1 because these will be like short fiction stories that I'll do every now and then. So, that's about it. Be good to animals, even people. See ya.
Ja, snälla, Bergsbus, Rish.
Look at this fucking sentence. He fixed Cecilia's daughter's cystic acne. This is gonna go great.